people shoplifting, you know. They have different scales of magnitude, okay, and there's many different factions in terms of organised crime fighting each other for control, and other semi-legitimate power groups trying to do that, you know. There is in most cases good and bad in all people, you know. But I am not going to be undemocratic in the pasting I give people verbally, you know, when they do something evil. I'm not going to do that. I will stick to my ethics. Constitutions are the high law, and that's why it's important for people to read their constitutions, whether it be the EU Constitution or the US Constitution. Know your laws, hold the people who are your public servants, yeah? Not your rulers. In democracy, politicians are your public servants. Civil servants are called civil because they serve the nation and society, you know? And nation and society should be used as an interchangeable word, right? In a democracy, okay? Hold those people to account. They work for you. These Trojan horse memes, the ones I mentioned in terms of totalitarianism, because all memes have different ideas that recreate themselves, have different flavours and nuances, you know. Of course, some are good, like Western rationalism, in my opinion, and some are not so good, like Marxism and the others I mentioned, or Islamic neo-feudalism, like the Bin Ladens or Saudis subscribe to in various ways. These Trojan horse memes are being used by the narrow self-interest of such groups, both in competition, as they believe in absolutes with each other, but also against the constant meme of Western civilization, the logos, the path of reason of different syntheses, drawing us to an empirical conclusion, you know, about things. Which is basically the scientific method. All the institutions, both social, invented, and biological, of Western civilization are being reduced by such methods. The outside meme to Western civilization that is often talked about as a potential threat is Islam. Although it has a highly sophisticated military-industrial complex and intelligence gathering being available to its neo-feudalist crime families such as the Bin Ladens or Saudis, it cannot replace Western civilization, as it is in a similar turmoil caused in part by its clash with Zionism, and in part by the interaction of different Western and non-Western power groups in business, and at the same time engaged in a military conflict of many different actors, both inside and outside the Islamic meme. Is itself fractured almost fatally. The Western Western applications of democracy and empiricism are also recent and at times buried in the past, re-emerging through references to Islamic scientific and literary subcultures that are inspired by Greco-Islamic learning, but by Greco-Islamic learning synthesis. Whilst like the Japanese and today China, Islam is able to use Western technology and knowledge, but is not able, like Japan, to adapt them to be a modular, naturalised system and part of its meme of Islam. Islam can plead equality with the West on moral terms, or from narrow group interests in terms of racial identity, but this is contradictory to Islam. First, the West knows that Islam's meme is based on moral superiority to Western civilization in conceptual terms of personal conduct, but the end state of Islam is grafted on to many races and individuals whose biological instincts cannot make this high ideal universally achieved by every Muslim. There are some Muslims who will achieve it. Just like there are some Westerners who achieved, the heights of Stoic or Epicurean reason, or lived a virtuous life, the dulcha vita that I'm talking about, like maybe Cato or others, or Seneca, for instance. That's what Seneca or others, Quite the contrary is observed by Muslims themselves, and are silenced through the excommunication process, which I talked about earlier. Islam, just like the West and like other Middle Eastern memes, is a coalition of memes. It is not just as simple to say that it's down to an interpretation of Islamic text, because to Muslims it is an oral tradition, a spoken tradition in the mosque, because the Quran is seen like the Bible was, or the Torah and Talmud is seen in Jewish tradition, is seen as perfect knowledge. Jews refer to the Greek complement of these books, from ancient times, as describing the world well, or almost perfectly, as the root of anti-Semitism, because traditionally Jewish people believe that the book of the Talmud and Torah creates the world. Now, this is the core reason why Middle Eastern religions are totalitarian, irrational, and insidious, and an insidious attempt to corrupt Western civilization into a trap of theocratic absolutism, as in the Dark Ages, Now, that's not the sole fault of Judaism. It is just part of that Middle Eastern culture that's arisen up for various geographical, environmental reasons and other things. Think about yourself. You're in a desert. You're herding animals and everything from one water place to another. You're looking at signs in the desert as to whether you're going to be lucky or not. You might be going to a town. You've got to sell your animals at the best place. All these things require one person to make an absolute decision, and that's something that's current through all the desert regions of Africa, North Africa, and the Middle East, and Central Asia as well. You see this sort of arc of dictatorships throughout that era, but these memes have given spawn off to other memes that have infiltrated in to Western civilization. You can see the theoretical absolutism in things like the extreme forms of the groups that I've mentioned, where people will be excommunicated out if they disagree. Generally speaking, as the Stoics and Epicureans showed, they could critique each other. They were different. They were different ideologies, but they could critique each other. They lived within a broad church. There's not, even though Julius Caesar was an Epicurean and Pompey was a Stoic, that wasn't the reason for their conflict. Those were probably the 1-2 things that they could have had a conversation about, and it wouldn't have caused civil strife. They respected each other intellectually. They disagreed with each other politically and conflicted with each other militarily, for different reasons, you know, than this sort of ideologically driven wars